If you feel personally traumatized by Sabaa Tahir, raise your hand. Hello everybody, today I'm here to talk about the fourth and final book in the Ember and the Ashes series. No, I love this series. Dare I say, it's my favorite YA fantasy series, and I don't read fantasy a ton, especially these past few years, but I love this series. If you haven't heard of the Ember and the Ashes series, we have 4 books that comprise of it. First is An Ember in the Ashes. Then we have A Torch Against the Night. Then the third book we have A Reaper at the Gates. And finally the last one, A Sky Beyond the Storm. So we're here to talk about A Sky Beyond the Storm. But I'm going to tell you quickly, briefly, what this series is kind of all about before I get into spoilers, because obviously this is the 4th book in a really dense YA fantasy series. So there's going to be a lot of spoilers that I have to talk about. So in case you're interested in Ember and the Ashes, it's a YA fantasy series that's kind of has this Roman Empire-esque to it. We have these people called masks that kind of uphold the law of the emperor, and they really don't like scholars, which is another type of people, I guess you could say, and they really try to do a lot of brute force and things like that. And we have 3 characters we predominantly follow in this series. First of all, we have Elias. Elias is a mask, and his mother is actually the commandant, who's kind of in control of all the mask and is pretty much horrible. And he really does not want to be a mask. He doesn't like the brutality of it. He doesn't like the unfairness of it. He wants to be better. Then we have his best friend, Helene, who's in the middle of this book right here. She is also a mask, and she is very brutal. She, you know, this is the world she's known. She's grown up to this, and she really follows and strictly adheres to the Emperor's rules, but things are starting to change, and she also maybe has feelings for Elias. Then we have a newcomer, Laia. Laia is actually a scholar rebel. She wants to take down the mask and the marshals. That's pretty much what they're called, because they've done a lot of wrong. They've killed her parents. They've, you know, killed her grandparents. They've done horrible things. So she goes undercover to try to take down within. Of course, Elias and Laia meet. Sparks may fly. We also have Helene like, hey, I like Elias. We got a love triangle going on. In the midst of all this, we have a lot of brutality, a lot of, you know, different things happening. So that's the best I can summarize this book. If you're interested in hearing any of my thoughts on all of these books, I have reviews on every single one of them. I've said my favorite is Reaper at the Gates. I'm still trying to determine which one is my favorite. It's either the 3rd or the 4th, maybe both, but it's no secret I love this series. The characters are complex. She writes such complex characters that a lot of them have really horrible motives, such as Helene. I'll talk about that more, but she writes them so complex, and she writes such growth within them that you just find yourself falling in love with them, and they try to change and things like that. So this is a very beautifully told, very rich in world fantasy series that I love a ton, and it's a heartbreaker one. It's not one where everyone lives happily ever after. It's a hard one to read, but it is well worth it. Yes, they're a little bit lengthy, I guess you could say, but goodness me, I think they're well crafted, beautifully written, and made me cry a lot. Again, before getting to spoilers about my feelings on A Sky Beyond the Storm, overall, I loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. Wasn't surprised at all. I even had I was comprising my top 10 favorites of 2020, and I was like, I can't finish this list until I read this book, because I knew it was probably going to be on it, because this is one of my favorite series, obviously. And of course, it's on the list. No surprise there, but it left me feeling bittersweet is the word. Like, I knew going into it, Sabaa Tahir was going to break our hearts. She's not afraid of death in her books. Like, characters will die and they will stay, you know, dead. That's what happens in war and things like that. And I knew it was going to happen in this book, even so desperately I wish it didn't. And I'm not gonna lie, it hurt a lot, but goodness me, did she wrap it up really nicely. Like, at the end, I felt so complete with this series, but also left feeling kind of gutted, if that makes any sense. Like, bittersweet yet happy, but also depressed. It put me in a book hangover, I'm not gonna lie. I did enjoy the pacing. I flew through it, I'm not surprised, and I really loved how the characters came to be in this book and how it ended and things like that. So without going into spoilers, 5 out of 5. I loved it. I'm not surprised in the slightest. So moving into spoilers now from this book, and you know, pretty much the whole series. So if you haven't read this book, do not watch any further, as I don't want to spoil you. So I wrote down some notes. Will they be all over the place? Of course. So we pretty much pick up around maybe a couple months after Reaper at the Gates. So at the end of Reaper at the Gates, Zacharias was born. Livy, Helene's sister, gave birth to him, and Laia and Helene kind of team up to try to like bring the Nightbringer down. And I thought that was great. The relationship between Laia and Helene was just stunning. At the beginning of the series, they start out as enemies. They hated each other. They both wanted the same guy. They both stood for different things. Helene like wanted to kill Laia, and Laia was like, I hate you, Helene. And then by the end of it, they're like BFFs, and they've overcome so much. I love that camaraderie between them so insanely much. Oh, I love that. But so basically they're together. We also have Elias, aka the soul catcher, because he is not Elias anymore. He is helping, you know, souls that are in the waiting place after you die to like kind of go on to the afterlife, I guess you could say. So he has really no memories of things. He has kind of slivers, and then Cain, the augur, hopefully I pronounced that right, visits him and puts the memory of Helene, Laia, and his mom all in him. And so he's like, whoa, like I'm the soul catcher, but like I'm kind of Elias. So the whole book, you're struggling with that, because the Reaper at the Gates, we saw him slowly lose himself to be the soul catcher. And at the end, he was fully a soul catcher. In this book, you see him slowly try to work back to Elias while battling if he still wants that or not, because he's the soul catcher. So that's a big thing in this. Also, let's see, the first death I think we had was Ferris. Ferris died. And I was sad about this, but I kind of knew it. He was, you know, kind of like a second or third hand of Helene, and he like sacrificed himself for her and for, you know, the Empire and things like that. And he was amazing. I do miss him a lot. What else is this? We also figure out that the Nightbringer has this scythe, and it's very important. And Laia knows that she has to get this scythe, and so she, you know, sets on a quest to do that. Also, she learns that there's this like entity inside of her named Remwat. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Basically, we learn that it's the Nightbringer's wife, and that she died but didn't really die. She like kind of made a deal with people and like said that she was gonna live and like the bodies, and she would be woken up by like the one true fighter, which was Laia. So her and Remnant kind of like, Remnant gives her powers to fight, and she kind of communicates through her, and she's kind of like a golden orb around her. That was very interesting, because the Nightbringer is a character that is a villain, but you sympathize with him so insanely much, which I love the way Sabaa Tahir crafts that. You have villains such as the Commandant, which you hate down to your very core. She's evil on evil. There's like no redemption there. But the Nightbringer, who is really evil, has a lot of redemption, because he does have motive of what he's doing. Are they wrong motives? Absolutely. Like ending the world and making all the suffering forever. Yeah, that's not good at all. But you see his pain of what his people went through, of his kids that he lost and everything like that. And you're like, you can't help but feel for him and hope there is a redemption arc for him. And I just love the way Sabaa Tahir crafts these characters, that she makes you feel so much. Just so many things. So yes. So then we have another really big death, is the Commandant kills Livia right in front of her own son. Like I've said on record that Helene's my girl. I love Helene, and Helene has such, you know, conflicting feelings. Like people have conflicting feelings about Helene. A lot of people hate her. A lot of people love her. I like her. I think I liked her from the beginning. I'm not sure. Was she horrible? Yes, like she had the wrong motives. She was, you know, brought up in this emperor world where she had to do these things and brute and kill and things like that, and that's all she knew. And she's a hard character to like. I totally understand that. But she has come, I think she is the one character in this whole series that has grown by leaps and bounds. She has completely changed who she is inside and out. Like she had a freaking silver mask embedded onto her that she ripped off to like help save people. And she has seen so much death in her life. Like her parents died, both her sisters have died. And then Harper died. Like, I really did not think that that was going to happen. Like, I had a feeling, but I was like, Sabaa wouldn't do this to Helene. Helene's been through everything. So I was like, she's not going to kill Harper, because Helene needs somebody. She needs somebody. And then she kills Livia. And then I'm like, well, geez, that was her last living relative, other than Zacharias. My bad. But I was like, now she can't kill Harper, because that's literally the only person left that like she loves. That's she's in love with him. And she does. I understand why it happened, that it needed to happen, because it really needed Helene to come full circle to really just change drastically for her to lose every single thing that she's loved to break her down, to build her to be a better, stronger person. And at the end, she becomes Empress, and that's amazing. But still, I feel for Helene so much because I know so much grief and sadness is just sitting inside of her. And just Helene, like I mean, Helene has just gone through the most in this entire series. Like that girl has, oh my gosh, I love Helene. I'll go down with her. Whatever that, I love Helene. She's been through a lot. Laia has also been through a lot. The fact that she killed Darren. I didn't even think Darren was going to get killed. I thought, no, Laia's also been through a lot. All of these characters have arguably been through a lot. I shouldn't say Helene's been through the most. No, all of them have been through a lot. We're in a time of war and things happen. And Darren gets killed and it's very horrible. Like that was her last living like relative, other than her mother, who we learn that turns out, oh, she's not dead, she's alive. And she comes back right in the nick of time to kill the Commandant, which, by the way, that death was really unsatisfying. Was it just you? Was it just me? Like, I like the fact that she just came out of nowhere and just killed her like that. But I was like, I wanted more buildup. I wanted more of her breaking down because Commandant was evil. And I think we all knew she was going to die. We all didn't care. We all were just waiting for it. Who was going to kill her would be the question. It would have been interesting if Laia's do it, but that would have been really messed up. But instead it was Laia's mother because, you know, they've been through a lot. But I don't know. And speaking of Laia's mother, she, you know, she's alive after all. And then she decides to take Elias's place to be the soul catcher so Elias can be with Laia, which is amazing because Laia has a very tumultuous relationship with her mom. Her mom's been alive this whole time and her mom's been loyal to the scholars and revenge and everything, and she's finally at peace and she wants to be there for her daughter and she wants to help souls go off to the afterlife. I did really love that. And what else did I write down? So many things. So basically, I think that's everything that I covered. I just went through everything very, very fast. At the ending, we have a lot of different things happen. Like I said, Helene becomes Empress and she decides that she is not going to take up a husband. She's not going to have a kid. She's like the empire or whatever is going to be her husband. And you know, that's her duty. And I think that's great. Helene's going to be an amazing Empress. And I'm sure a lot of people can agree, but I do feel a little sad for her. But at the very end, Musa and Helene kind of maybe start having a thing because they both lost the people that they loved. Like the part where he's like, he should be dancing with you. And she's like, she should be here with you. I was like, oh crap. that was heavy. That was heavy. And I think maybe they'll find comfort in each other in more ways than one, wink, wink. And I'm okay with that. I think that's great. They could really be well together. Never saw it coming because I was such a Helene Harper stan that it was ridiculous, but I'm here for that. And speaking, and also we have Laia. She's going to be the new storyteller and she's going to tell the stories and things like that. And Elias is just going to go with her and he's just going to be free because that's what he's wanted to do forever. He just wanted to have choices in his life. His whole life has been made for him. He's had to be in mask. He's had to be brutal. He's had to be, you know, with this, like everything like that. And he now finally has choices and is allowed to be free. And they get engaged at the end. And I think some people don't like the engaged trope, but I mean, like they've been through like a lot in 2 years, like wars and stuff. Like I'm good with them getting engaged and getting married. Go for it. If it brings you happiness, you do it because you've been through a lot. So they definitely, I don't want to say they've had the happiest ending, but I mean, they did, and I'm happy for them. I've said time and time again, I'm not like the biggest Elias and Laia shipper, but I did like them in this book and how much Laia fought for Elias. Like, he kept repeating, she would call him Elias, and he's like, no, my name's Soul Catcher. But she knew that he was Elias deep down before he became the Soul Catcher. He's like, never forget that I love you. Never forget that. And she never forgot, not once. She fought, and she was patient, and she was kind, and that is love right there. Like, to go what she has gone through to like be with the man that she loves and to like see him not be himself, but literally like a soul catcher, like that's love. So mad respects to Laia. And Elias, like, goodness me, like he really went through a lot in this book as well. Every character freaking did. You know, he was a soul catcher and he had to learn that he had to help the waiting place, and to help the waiting place made him be less like a soul catcher and more like Elias. So goodness me, like I think just so many feelings with this book. I am so sad this series is over because I love these characters so deeply much. They have rooted themselves inside of me, and I still think of this book. It's been a week since I finished it and I'm still thinking about it. Like, I just, Such a amazing ending, but such bittersweet. There's so many quotes in this book that I just loved. My favorite quotes is when after Helene like loses Livia and Harper kind of takes her to a place to like kind of get all of her anger and grief out, and she like cries a lot. She says, "I am a maid," and then she said, "I am broken." And he says, "You are broken, but it is the broken things that are the sharpest, the deadliest. It is the broken things that are the most unexpected and the most underestimated." Oh, goodness me. There's also another quote. I love when also Elias tells Helene, "We're trailing ghosts now. All we can do is try not to make any more," because they're done with death. They're done with killing. They want peace and they want happiness. I also really love when Laya is taking the Nightbringer down and she's trying to just reach to him, and she says that, "I know suffering. You think because you were a djinn you feel more deeply because you were the beloved, your grief is greater than my own. It is not, for I was beloved too. I was beloved by my mother and father. I was beloved to my sister and my brother and my grandparents. I was beloved to Elias. I was beloved by you. I was beloved to you. Perhaps you and I are doomed to always hurt. But what we do with that hurt is our choice. I cannot hate, not forever. Are you not tired of it, Nabara? Do you not seek rest?" Like and the quotes are endless in this book of just really teaching us things about the world, about hate, about how we treat other people, about how to end, to be compassionate. And goodness me, it was amazing. So I wrap this up with, I love this book. I am very sad this series is over, but I'm very excited to see what Sabaa writes next. Whether it be a new series, a standalone, I am here for it, and I am ready because her writing is stunning. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on A Sky Behind the Storm. Who's your favorite character? Who's your favorite ship? Were you expecting the deaths? Were you not? Tell me everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye.